Well, let's get started in creating layers. All right. So the first thing I need to do is I need to have a document. All right. So I'm going to go and create a brand new document. Now, in this new document dialog box, there's a number of things or choices that we have when we go and create them, as you've already found out. I'm just going to use the default Photoshop size, which is 5 by 7 at 72 pixels per inch. That's all I really need for this visual. If I was doing this for print, I would put in 300. Why don't I do that and then move on? I'm also going to name this, and I'm going to name this Celebration Graphic. All right, and I'm going to click OK to get that new image sitting here. There we go. Everything's perfect. If you take a look now over in the Layers panel here, you will see that we have just the background layer, and it is the base of our image. It is also locked by default. All right. If you wanted to unlock your background for whatever reason, this is the easiest way to do it. Is just to come over here and double click on it. Double clicking on the locked layer here, the locked background, will bring up the new layer dialog box. If you wanted to give it a unique name, by all means go ahead and then just click OK. Now you can see that this is just a regular old layer. All right, I'm going to undo that by going under the edit menu and choosing undo make layer or Command Z. So we're back to our default way of looking at our Photoshop file. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to show you the various ways that we can actually create new layers. Some of these ways will generate new layer dialog boxes and other ways won't. Now, having the new layer dialog box pop up is really handy, because then you can actually rename your layer before it actually gets made, as opposed to renaming your layer after it's been made. Either way, doesn't really matter. Totally up to you. All right, so the easiest way is, when we're first learning how to use Photoshop, is to use the menu system across the top, and I'm just going to go under the layer menu because that's the topic that we're working with right now. There's layers, and I want to go new, and I'm just going to choose new layer. If I choose layer, new layer from the menu system across the top, I will get this dialog box. I'm going to cancel that because I want to show you that if I came over to my layers panel here, and in the upper right hand corner there is an options menu, and all the panels have them, as you can see. So if I were to click and hold on that options menu, I get the option to create a new layer. Either way, I get the same dialog box. I'm just going to click OK, and there you can see that we have a brand new layer inside our document. All right, Photoshop shows us that we have this brand new blank layer with checkerboard. Checkerboard is Photoshop's way to show you there's transparency, or there's actually nothing on the layer at this point in time. All right, so now that we've got those two guys going on, there's yet another way that we can actually go ahead and do this. So I am going to undo that as well. And I'm going to show you that you can actually duplicate your current layers. And I'm just going to do this right now by right-clicking on this guy and choosing to duplicate the layer. All right. Now, if I duplicate the background layer, I'm just going to get a copy of what that is. And you can see over here in the duplicate layer dialog box, the application has taken the current name, appended the word copy to it, and the destination is, well, the only graphic that we have currently open here. If I click on that, but I guess I could come over and put this new layer, which is a copy of this thing, into a brand new document. Does that open up some possibilities for you? Okay, not necessarily with a blank document, but if we had the Sitka Alaska as an example, or if we had any of the other components from that Alaska collage, and if I actually did the duplicate layer this way, then I might be able to take as an example the statue, and through this method actually duplicate the statue layer with all of its attributes and throw it into a brand new document. That's kind of cool. All right, so we can actually duplicate the layer this way as well, and if I click on that, we'll end up with a duplicate of the background. This time it is white, as the background is, and there we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I want to get rid of this, and there's a couple of ways I can go about getting rid of my layers. One is to have it selected and just hit on the Mac, it's the big double-sized delete key. On the PC it would be the backspace key. I could do that. There you go, done. Command Z to undo to bring it back so I can show you other ways. All right, so now I can right click on this and I can choose to delete the layer. I could drag this down to the trash can and get rid of it that way. So there's a number of ways to get rid of all of that nonsense. Okay? Now, let's go back to creating a new document with the option to rename it. All right, so I'm going to come under here, File, New, or just remember, to create a new document in Photoshop, it's Command N. To create a new layer, it's just adding the Shift key. And I'm just going to call this one Paint, S-W-I-R-L-S, Paint Swirls, and there you go, I've got this. So now if I come in and start painting or whatever it is, I've got my Paint Swirls thing. All right, now if I wanted to make a duplicate of this guy, I could drag this down to the new layer icon, and when I do that, automatically, all right, I get the new layer created. It's identical to this one, and the word copy has been added on to that. All right, so I'm just wanting to know if there's any other ways to go about doing this, and I'm not 100% sure if there are more ways. I think I've shown you all the ways. We come under the layer menu and choose new layer. We come over here and we choose new layer. We can duplicate. We can come down here and click on this. The most obvious one, I forgot to tell you. Okay, here you go. Down here we have the new layer icon. Just click on it. Boom, there you go. Brand new layer, blank, ready to go. All right, so there's a number of ways to go about creating these new layers. If I wanted to, I could actually come over here and double click this and call this blank layer, just giving it a name. Doesn't matter what I call it. If I want to get rid of the word copy, just get rid of that and just type in the number 2, so it's Paint Swirls number 2, and I might have something totally different sitting on that. All right, so there we go with that. If I want to get rid of these guys, well, what you can do is right click on there and choose to delete the layer. You will be given this little dialog box that says, are you really sure that's what you want to do? And if you're really confident, you can actually click on this little checkbox to say, never show me this again. I would advise against it, all right, because sometimes, you're in a rush and in your haste to actually do things, and here sometimes you do things you don't want to do. All right, but yes, I do want to get rid of that. Now, if I came over here, I can just come down and drag that into the trash can to get rid of this guy. And with this guy sitting up here, all I have to do is hit the backspace or the double-sized delete key on the Mac, and that is done that way. All right, thanks a lot. And in the next movie, we'll start talking about dragging and dropping documents from one, or layers or documents from one image file to another.